Hello. So today, for first chapter Friday, in honor of Shakespeare's birthday yesterday, we are going to be reading Romeo and Juliet in Vampire, which is along the same lines as Abraham Lincoln Vampire Slayer or Pride and Prejudice and Zombies. So it takes that original story and then it adds a humorous twist to it in some way. All right, so there is our cover. It is a newer book, but that cover looks fairly old in my opinion. All right, so we'll go ahead and get started with the prologue. Transylvania, 1462. For the past 6 years, the Wallachian province of Transylvania was ruled by Vlad the Impaler, a ruthless prince responsible for the deaths of 40,000 European people during his reign. Vladimir couldn't have accomplished this horrific feat alone, of course. A special part of his constituency, a family of vampires known as the Capulets, helped him carry out his murderous rampage by feeding off of undesirables one by one. In exchange for their work, the Capulets were given a large, imposing castle in the southern part of the Carpathian Mountains near the city of Transylvania, and anything else their hearts desired. They enjoyed the benefits of being wealthy aristocrats by day, bloodsuckers by night. Opulent clothes, priceless jewels, supernatural powers, and immortality. They owned most of the land in the area and had servants to tend to their every whim. One might say that to be a Capulet was to be both envied and abhorred. However, if you were talking with a Montague, he would have told you that the Capulets were mercenaries of evil who had to be destroyed. Blessed with a keen sense of intuition and vampire slaying skills that could not be matched, the Montagues fought the Capulets at every opportunity to keep them from terrorizing the citizens of Transylvania. Their hope was to rid the world of these beasts once and for all. But recently the rules of war were changed. Prince Vladimir was ousted from the throne and imprisoned, leaving his half-brother Radu in power. Radu's first act as prince was to institute a peace treaty in the region of Wallachia, therefore forcing the Montagues and the Capulets into a truce. But could peace really exist between sworn enemies, especially when one was as bloodthirsty as the Capulet family? From forth the fatal loins of these two foes, a pair of star-crossed lovers were fated to find out. Citizens of Transylvania, with Vlad the Impaler imprisoned for crimes against humanity, the era of his violence is officially over. A peace treaty has been reached between the new government of Vladimir's mercenaries, the Capulets. If any humans or vampires commit a violent act that results in the injury or death of another, their lives shall pay the forfeit of the peace. Abiding by this simple yet definitive law should lead to civility and tranquility in our kingdom. Prince Radu. Chapter 1. Juliet sat on her bed and stared at her reflection in an ornate gilded mirror, which she held close to her face. With her fingertips she traced the outline of her red, rose-hued lips on the glass, repeating the same movement over the subtle slope of her nose and the smooth, youthful brow above her indigo-colored eyes. She was not one to be vain, but in 3 days the simple act of checking to see if a chestnut-colored tendril had fallen loose from one of her hair combs would not be so simple. Truth be told, it wouldn't even be possible, for Juliet's reflection would cease to exist. "Keep your chin up, my lady," said a voice from behind her. "God knows it will improve your posture." Juliet felt her breath catching her throat, surprised to hear that someone else was in her chambers. She set a mirror down on her lap and turned toward the door, where her beloved nursemaid stood, dressed in a white smock, holding a wooden brush in her hand. Juliet sighed. Her nurse was here to help her prepare for a lavish ball that her parents were hosting this evening. However, Juliet would rather hide in her chambers for the night than play the role of dutiful daughter in a room full of vampires and strangers, especially since she was in such a somber mood. "I have more important things to be concerned about than my posture," Juliet said as she rose from her bed, still clutching the ivory handle of her mirror. She walked over to the leaded terrace window and gazed at the snow-capped mountains that lined the far reaches of Transylvania. As a child, she dreamed of leaving the castle and disappearing into the hills, where she'd befriend all the wild animals and live off berries. How foolish she had been. I suppose you are referring to your birthday, the nurse strode across the room, her short, meaty legs pounding the marble floor. She stood behind Juliet and removed her mistress's robe quickly before pulling it off of both her arms. Most girls look forward to turning 16, or am I mistaken? Juliet closed her eyes, feeling the last ray of the setting sun tickle her skin through her cotton slip. Soon, exposure to direct sunlight would be the kiss of death for her. Most girls do not have to kill someone and drink every last drop of their blood in order to live a day past it, she said. The nurse circled in front of Juliet and glowered at her. Well, there's no sense in wishing for what is unattainable. Now sit down so I can untangle the nest of hair before Lady Capulet comes to call. You can have her seeing you so unkept. Juliet nodded and shuffled over to the bed, heeding the nurse's command. She knew better than anyone how easy it was to be scared of Lady Capulet. But there was one thing more frightening than the matriarch of the Capulet family. A surprise raid on the castle by the vampire-slaying Montagues. There had been 3 security breaches before, guerrilla attacks in retaliation for the brutal murders of murders the Capulets had carried out at the hands of Vlad the Impaler. In those dire hours, Juliet had always been fiercely protected, mostly by her older cousin Tybalt. But now she couldn't help but wonder if she would have been better off as a casualty. Of course, being dead would free her from her troubles, but dying at the hands of the Montagues would only cause more destruction in Transylvania. The Capulets hated the Montagues with every fiber of their unbeating hearts, and would certainly seek vengeance at any cost. She couldn't bear the thought of being responsible for anyone's death, regardless of who they were. Juliet let out a deep breath and tried to force these disconcerting thoughts from her mind as the hairbrush's soft bristles massaged her scalp. She recalled a more carefree time, when she used to love counting the brushstrokes and listening to her nurse sing happy folk songs while she worked. When the nurse's own child died many years ago, she practically adopted Juliet, and Juliet felt she could trust her nurse with anything. Don't you take any pity on me, nurse, she asked, her voice despondent and desperate for sympathy, or my soon-to-be-damned soul. Juliet heard no response as the brush kept moving through her hair. But then there was a pause, and Juliet felt the nurse's lips press down on the crown of her head. I do, child, the nurse repeated tenderly. When you have doubts, remember, I've been preparing my heart for this since you were born. It's been a wretched task. A tear trickled down Juliet's cheek, which she quickly wiped away. Thank you, I will. The nurse wrapped her arms around Juliet and squeezed. Is there anything I can do to cheer you up? Yes, switch lives with me, Juliet said with a small grin. The nurse laughed into Juliet's ear. That is quite a favor to ask. I know, but you cannot blame me for trying, Juliet replied, her eyes smiling just a little. Suddenly, there was a knock at the chamber door, and the nurse snapped to attention. I wasn't expecting her ladyship for another hour or so, she gasped. The nurse handed Juliet the brush, then raced over to the closet and opened it. Juliet managed a girlish giggle. Unlike the other vampires who slept until nightfall, Lady Capulet's eyes always popped open the moment twilight arrived. Well, my mother does love to keep her human underlings on their toes. The nurse fetched Juliet's robe, shaking her head with disapproval. Nobody likes a young maiden with a sharp tongue. I suppose it will go well with my new sharp teeth. Another knock sounded at the door, loud and demanding. Just mind yourself, please, the nurse advised Juliet. Why should I? I have only a few days left of being human. I might as well enjoy myself, she replied. Good heavens, maybe you should keep your mouth shut altogether, the nurse said as she smoothed Juliet's hair and tied it at the nape of her neck with a black satin ribbon. Then she took a breath, walked hastily towards the door, and opened it. At the sight of Lady Capulet, Juliet shuddered as though a gust of wind had blown by. The nurse bowed her head respectfully and said, My lady. Without a word or acknowledgment of her daughter's servant, Lady Capulet floated into the bedchamber, her dainty feet hovering a good 6 inches off the ground. She was dressed in a long ebony gown and folded her hands delicately in front of her chest as she gracefully levitated across the room. Her pale yellow skin was utterly flawless, and her raven-colored hair was pulled back tightly in an ornate bun, so that her glowing red irises were impossible to ignore. There were no vampires more beautiful nor imposing than Lady Capulet. Juliet barely blinked in her mother's presence. She was that captivating. And until today, Juliet hadn't noticed the resemblance. With her transition from human to vampire to come in 3 days, there was no way she could deny it now. "Nurse, leave us. I must speak with my daughter in private," Lady Capulet said firmly. Juliet's heart fluttered with dismay. She did not want to lose the support of her most precious ally. "As you wish," the nurse replied, bowing her head again and closing the door behind her. Juliet swallowed hard, hoping something cheerful, like a chirping bird outside her window, would break the uncomfortable silence. Lady Capulet glided over to the nightstand near Juliet's bed and held her hand over the top of a copper oil lamp. A flickering flame suddenly appeared, showering Juliet's face with a light golden sheen. While all female vampires had some degree of conjuring powers, Lady Capulet's skills were far above the rest. "Come, let me see you," Lady Capulet said, staring deep into Juliet's eyes and running a long, sharp fingernail down her daughter's cheek. Juliet willed herself not to shed any more tears. Lady Capulet did not tolerate babyish behavior. "Your color is already beginning to change," Lady Capulet said, with a proud expression on her face. "Can you tell?" "I haven't thought to look, Mother," Juliet lied and glanced away. The first sign of transformation had begun last night, and her healthy pink skin tone was gradually turning pale. Soon her eyes would start to alter in color from ice blue to glowing scarlet, and her fingernails would grow long and sharp. The ability to levitate and the smell of blood would follow, as well as the loss of her reflection in shadow. But there was one symptom of the transition that was so excruciating, even a vampire as strong as her cousin Tybalt had trouble handling it. A ravenous hunger that would gnaw mercilessly at her insides until she performed her initiation rite before midnight on her 16th birthday. The only way for Juliet to stop the transformation was to refuse initiation, which she desperately wanted to do. The ritual was the final step to becoming a full-fledged vampire, and known only to those within the vampire community. Juliet would have to hunt down a human and kill him all by herself, and without the help of an accomplice. Then she must ingest every ounce of the victim's blood until his corpse was nothing but a dry, shriveled shell. But as abhorrent as this initiation ritual was to Juliet, resisting it would lead to starvation and death. Juliet wasn't sure she had the stomach for that kind of intense suffering. Lady Capulet quickly became stern, dropping her hand over the lamp's flame and extinguishing it. "Are you still trying to pretend your destiny as a vampire does not await you? That will not do you any good." "And what should I do?" The anger in Juliet's voice was unmistakable. "Embrace a fate that will rid me of my humanity and morality? A fate that will force me to feed off the blood of man, or else dig myself an early grave?" "Juliet, your theatrics are both tiring and tedious," said Lady Capulet. "I transitioned on my 16th birthday without an ounce of reluctance, and so did your father, and his father before him. All your hand-wringing is a great disrespect to your lineage." Juliet lay down on her bed, turning so that her back was to Lady Capulet. "At least we can agree on this. We are both ashamed of each other." The room went eerily quiet, and Juliet's stomach churned. She knew what she had said was horrible, but she was so eager to convince her mother that her family's lifestyle was, in a word, depraved. At this point, Juliet would say anything to make Lady Capulet realize that feeding on humans was wrong, even if it meant provoking a fight. So as you can see, we have a few more pages left in our chapter. Unfortunately, I have a 15-minute timer in this program, so I'm not able to complete this chapter. Before I go, I would like to go ahead and ask you guys, is this something you would read? Now, I know regular Romeo and Juliet is not to everyone's reading styles, but is this something that would interest you? Go ahead and comment in classroom below this post and let me know. And then I will see you guys later. Bye.